How's it going, guys? Today I'll be comparing the Pixel 4a against the Huawei P30. Now this one is a little bit different. I am planning to record these A-rolls or talking headshots on the phone, so I'll put them down below on what phone I'm on currently. Now for audio, I am recording through the Rode Wireless Go, so I am going to compare the two audio qualities of these phones in the camera section. Also, if you are planning to vlog or do something really similar, then I guess this is like a good example to look at too. Now the P30 came out like a year and a half ago, so compared to the Pixel 4a, it's a pretty old phone, but it's still a budget versus a flagship phone, so it's still kind of unfair. Now, if you're just a casual user, then most likely both of these phones will do what you need it to do. Now moving on to hardware, the P30 is one of the best looking phones in my eyes, especially compared to the Pixel 4a, which is more minimal and it doesn't really turn any eyes. And for some people, that's okay because they would like it more minimal, they don't want to attract attention, so it's kind of like the opposite ends of these two phones. And of course, it's glass versus plastic, so the quality is the clear winner for the Huawei P30. Now for the size, both of them are in the same ballpark. The Huawei P30 is just a little bit bigger and taller, but nonetheless, both of these phones are really comfortable to hold. P30 does have a face unlock, which works great during daytime, but when it gets dark, it does struggle a bit. And also it has a front on-screen fingerprint sensor. The fingerprint sensor works okay. I do prefer the 4a better, but most of the time I do get in by the face unlock. Both phones do have buttons on the right side, but I do prefer the layout on the P30 better just because the power button is easier to reach, and that's the button I press more often than the volume button. They both charge through USB-C and they both have headphone jacks, so those are great for the ones that still use it. Now for battery, the P30 does win since it has the bigger battery, but not by much. Either way, both of these phones will last me about a day to a day and a half, so when I charge it, it's still going to be around the same time. Now for software, both of them are pretty easy to use and are similar for the most part. My only gripe with the P30 or EMUI 10 is that I don't have easy access to the notification center like I do on the 4a. On the Pixel, I can swipe down on the home screen or on the fingerprint sensor. I know it's more of a personal preference thing, but I think it's just more comfortable and easier to access on the Pixel 4a. Now for performance, I'm just a casual user, so I don't play any crazy heavy graphic games or any heavy apps. So in terms of just regular use, I don't see any lag or any issues on both phones. So when I scroll through my Instagram feed or watch videos on YouTube, they both feel perfectly fine. So I can't really say if the Pixel 4a is faster or the P30 because to me, for my real world use, they feel the same. Now this is the front facing audio test of these two phones and I'll be switching back and forth to let you guys hear the difference. Also for the cameras, they got 3 on the back on the Huawei P30 versus just the 1 on the Pixel 4. So that's already kind of like a disadvantage. Other than that, the front facing camera is single, so they're both standard 1080p 30. So throughout the camera test, I am using the HDR mode on the Huawei P30, so it can kind of be a bit more fair against the Google software. So moving on to video, they both can shoot up to 4K 30, and taking a look at it, the stabilization is definitely better on the Pixel 4a. Also, the white balance on the P30 is much more cooler, so a lot of cases if you look at the floor or shadows, it's more on the bluish side. You can record on the ultra wide angle lens on the P30. Now it's not the best at stabilization, and also it's still on the cooler side. For low light, they both don't look too great just because they have a lot of micro jitters, and the white balancing on the P30 is more strict, so the white is more white, whereas on the 4a it's more natural since you can kind of see the tungsten orange light hitting the floor. Now moving on to the front facing camera, both are pretty good, they handle HDR well. The P30 is a bit brighter in the shadows and it does have that warmish look. And when you switch it to portrait mode, the HDR is completely gone on the P30. The background blur is not as creamy, and one annoyance for me is that once you go into portrait mode on the P30, it's always set to none, so you would have to press another button to get the background effect. And also during lower light situations, the front facing camera can be a bit blurry. Now for the back cameras, you can easily zoom in on the P30, which is great, but the thing is that if you look through these videos or the pictures, it's inconsistent in the colors. Yes, I can zoom in on a Pixel 4a and get a closer shot, but the quality is not going to be as good. The big advantage on the P30 is the telephoto lens, so if the subject is kind of far away, you can still get the portrait mode shot. And I point this out a lot on the P30, I just don't like the greenish tone that the P30 has. But for some people, they said that they don't have this issue, so lucky them. For everyday situations, the P30 is obviously going to be the winner here. I like that you can easily switch from 1x to 3x to 5x really quickly, and you can go up to 30x if you want to, but it just doesn't look that great. On a Pixel, you can zoom all the way in, and the software does a pretty decent job trying to make the picture look sharper, but it's not going to be the camera with a dedicated telephoto lens. So in lower light situations, I would avoid using the ultra wide angle lens and the telephoto one just because the quality is not going to be as good as the main camera. So this is where I think the Google's camera software outshines a lot of other phones because the sharpening effect or the processing does a good job trying to make the image look good during nighttime. For the night mode, I think the Huawei P30 main camera mode is already good enough. I don't think you really need to use night mode on the P30. There is a bigger difference on the Pixel 4, so it's good if you do plan on using it. Now the downside, or the thing I don't like about P30's night mode, is that sometimes it does make the image look green. So is it 50-50? That's why I don't really use the night mode on the P30. In the end, both of these phones are great. The biggest experience difference is the face unlock and the extra cameras. So if you know you don't need those extra features or a lot of those camera modes on the P30, then I think the Pixel 4a will do just fine. So that is my comparison and opinion. Let me know if you like the way where I'm using the front-facing camera on the phones I'm comparing about. If you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can find me on Instagram. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.